Thank you very much, Ricardo. Muito bom dia a todos. Let me make just a small precision. Today is not our Independence Day, it's our National Day. It's the day of Portugal. The day of Camões, which is a Portuguese poet, and the day of the Portuguese community. So this is the day where we celebrate the Portuguese culture and the Portuguese community. So this is your day. I would like to pay my respect and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land of which this event takes place, and also pay respect to elders both past and present. Let me take this opportunity to thank the representatives of the Aboriginal community for the wonderful welcome to country ceremony. Thank you. I would now like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished guests. And for the sake of efficiency of time, I would refrain to enumerating the long list of dignitaries as they have already been formally presented by our MC. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank each and every one of you for your presence, an expression of support to the Portuguese community, which is very much appreciated. I would like to express my great satisfaction for being here with you today and celebrate the Day of Portugal, Camões and the Portuguese communities. It was also a great privilege to have our national anthems being performed through the beautiful voices of Soma Sutton and Mafalda Arnaud. Let me congratulate the Senior Portugal Community Club and the Portugal Madeira Club for having united forces to organize this event. It is great to see the community reunited. Portugal has a rich past of 9 centuries of history, having given a great contribution to the world, namely with the glory days of leading the Age of Discovery, which paved the way for economic globalization 500 years ago. The connection between Portugal and Australia dates back to this period, as there is increasing evidence that the Portuguese were the first Europeans to land in Australia during the 1520s. Portugal places great value in long-standing relationship with Australia, with whom we maintain a very good relationship. Portugal and Australia are like-minded countries and have a good collaboration in international organizations. Also worth mentioning the participation of both countries as allies in the military operations in Afghanistan. As regards bilateral relations, Australia and Portugal have signed several agreements, among which I would like to highlight the work and holiday visa arrangement and the agreement on social security protection. In terms of trade, our exports to Australia have been growing remarkably. In 2016, exports of goods to Australia market accelerated more than 13%. And between 2012 and 2016, exports of goods and services more than doubled. Nevertheless, Australia is only the 28th client of Portugal, with a total volume of exports around 300 million euros, which means that there is a huge room for improvement. Portuguese companies are present in Australia in several sectors, from traditional area of core to the innovative sector of technology. The best example of our presence in Australia is perhaps the revolutionary project undertaken by the company Vision Box, who invented and introduced the smart gates in Australian airports. We have also seen an increasing interest of Australian companies in Portugal. In the mining sector alone, there's a handful of Australian companies with investment projects in Portugal, following the discovery of the largest reserves of lithium in Europe. The Australian companies are also present in the agro-food, energy, health and tourism sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, the victors of Portugal in the Euro Cup 2016 and in the Eurovision Song Contest, the recent visit of Pope Francis to Portugal, the dozen of prizes in the World Travel Awards, and the holding of the biggest technological event in Europe, known as the Web Summit, are just a few of the many examples of the positive cycle that the country is experiencing. But Portugal has a lot more to celebrate than winning the Football Cup in the Eurovision context. Portugal is a country with political and social stability. Portugal has no anti-European sentiment or extremist parties. Portugal is one of the safest countries and is considered to be the third most peaceful country in the world. And this is priceless in today's world. But there's more reasons to celebrate. 2016 was the best year ever for Portuguese exports. Unemployment rate is the lowest since 2009, and job creation was double the EU average. The budget deficit is the lowest since 1975. The economy is growing at the strongest pace in nearly a decade, having expanded 2.8% in the first 3 months of the year, clearly above the EU average. The excellent GDP performance was supported by strong exports, improved investment and tourism boom. Confidence indicators are steadily on rise, which is reflected in growing investments, and last year Portugal attracted more foreign investment than in any other year in the past 2 decades. But the greatest asset of a country is certainly its people, and throughout its history, Portugal has given the world some of the very best people in different areas. The elections of António Guterres as Secretary General of the United Nations and of Cristiano Ronaldo as the most famous athlete on the planet are just the 2 of the most recent examples. According to our estimates, there are close to 60,000 people with Portuguese ancestry in Australia. They are also a great asset to this country, as they have given an important contribution to the development of Australia. I'm very happy that Ricardo has accepted the invitation to be our MC today, as he is the perfect example of this legacy and the success of the Portuguese community in Australia. Thank you, Ricardo, for honoring the Portuguese community. Let me take this opportunity to thank Australia for being home for so many members of our community and for having received them and treated them so well. Distinguished guests, allow me to address my fellow citizens in the Portuguese language. Caros compatriotas, permitam-me que aproveite a ocasião para dar conta de alguns desenvolvimentos registrados na área consular nos tempos mais recentes. Na vertente de assuntos consulares, será de destacar o incremento das permanências consulares e a introdução de um sistema de agendamento consular online que a partir desta semana foi alargado a todos os atos consulares. Da parte do Governo português, destaque para a aprovação do decreto-lei que simplifica o processo de atribuição da nacionalidade e os trabalhos em curso com vista à introdução do recenseamento automático. Aproveito a ocasião para sublinhar a importância de um maior envolvimento político da comunidade portuguesa também no país de acolhimento, reforçando a capacidade de defesa dos seus próprios interesses na Austrália. Eu não me vou alongar sobre este tema porque sei que será desenvolvido pelo José Mendes Pires. Na vertente de diplomacia económica, destaque para a recente visita do Presidente da Agência de Comércio e Investimento de Portugal, à Austrália, e a abertura da delegação da AICEP no Consulado-Geral em Sydney, reforçando a capacidade de atuação neste domínio. Na vertente de cultura e ensino, haverá que mencionar a dinamização das instalações do consulado como espaço cultural, nomeadamente através da realização de exposições de artistas portugueses. Destaque ainda para a cooperação estreita e o trabalho desenvolvido pela coordenadora do ensino da língua portuguesa na Austrália, em apoio às escolas portuguesas, designadamente através da oferta de material pedagógico e formação de professores. Na vertente de diplomacia científica, destaque para o lançamento do processo com vista à criação de uma associação representativa de investigadores portugueses na Austrália. Na vertente de diplomacia pública, destaque para a abertura e dinamização da página do consulado no Facebook. Nesta ocasião, gostaria de agradecer o imprescindível apoio de toda a equipe do consulado e o contributo para o esforço constante de melhoria e modernização dos serviços consulares. Gostaria ainda de aproveitar a ocasião para anunciar em primeira mão a intenção de Sua Excelência o Secretário de Estado das Comunidades Portuguesas de visitar a Austrália entre os próximos dias 7 e 13 de junho, incluindo naturalmente um contacto com os clubes e com as comunidades portuguesas em Sydney. Caros compatriotas, é com enorme satisfação que posso testemunhar a forma como todos vós, neste país, do outro lado do mundo, têm honrado e dignificado Portugal pela forma como preservam a nossa cultura, as nossas tradições e o sentimento que manifestam na vossa identidade como portugueses. Muito obrigado a todos por prestigiarem o nosso país e contribuírem para a afirmação de Portugal no mundo. É por isso também que é para mim uma grande honra e privilégio poder servir Portugal e as comunidades portuguesas na Austrália. I would like to conclude by thanking our welcoming hosts, all our dignitaries present. Thank you once more for your presence. Our MCs, Ricardo Gonçalves and Luís Macedo, the sponsors, all the artists that will perform on stage this weekend, and a special thanks to Mafalda for traveling 18,000 kilometers to be with us today, and to all the volunteers that have contributed to the success and organization of this wonderful event. Thank you all for the fantastic job. Please join me in giving them a big hand of applause. Muito obrigado a todos. Desejo a todos magnífico dia de Portugal.
Thank you, Carl Domingos. What I liked the most, being a business and finance journalist, what I liked about Carl's speech were all the economic and numbers and how well the Portuguese economy is doing and coming out of the global financial crisis and that sort of thing. So it might give me more leverage to convince my bosses at SBS to send me to Portugal and maybe to do a couple of business stories while I'm there. Okay, we've got a couple of quick other speeches so we can keep it nice and short. Please welcome to the stage the Honourable David John Clark, LLB MLC. He's a member of the Legislative Council and Parliamentary Secretary for Justice, and is representing the Honourable Ray Williams, New South Wales Minister for Multiculturalism and Disability Services.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a great honour and joy to be here today representing the Government of New South Wales, and also Ray Williams, the Minister for Multiculturalism, at this celebration of the National Day of Portugal. Also, 2017, the centenary, the 100th anniversary of the apparitions at Fatima. Very important day in the history of Portugal. And friends, when we talk, first of all, can I acknowledge the Consul General, other Consul Generals here, my parliamentary colleagues, and most of all, can I pay respects to the Portuguese Australian community here today, representing 25 to 30,000 Portuguese Australians who call New South Wales home. And friends, when we talk about the Nationhood Day of Portugal, we're talking about a nation who has a history going back nearly 1,000 years. 1,000 years. A small nation in size. You can fit it 9 times into New South Wales. A population of only 9 million, but yet its achievements are colossal. Its achievements are awe-inspiring. It is a nation that punches well and truly above its weight. Friends, a nation that produced the greatest explorers and the greatest navigators in the world. Vasco da Gama, Henry the Navigator, all of these great navigators who are in the history books today, and we now learn that there is growing evidence that the English weren't the first Europeans to find Australia. The Dutch weren't the first, but according to increasing records and evidence, it was the Portuguese who were the first to discover Australia hundreds of years before. And so when it comes to navigation and exploration, it's not the English, it's not the French, it's not the Dutch, it's not the Spanish, it is the Portuguese. It is the Portuguese. They are the greatest of all when it comes to navigators. And when it comes to empires, it was the Portuguese Empire that was the most widely dispersed, the most widely distributed around the world. 38 nations in Africa alone have territory that was once part of the great Portuguese Empire. 21 nations in Asia and Oceania. 7 nations in South America. 3 nations in North America all had territory which was once part of the great Portuguese Empire. So it doesn't come any bigger, any greater than that. And then when it comes to the Portuguese language, according to UNESCO, it is the second fastest growing European language in the world, only after English itself. It's the most popular language in South America. It's the second most popular language in Central America, and it just grows and grows and grows. So, dear friends, great things have come out of Portugal, and can I say to you, are you not proud of your ancestral homeland? Are you not proud of the achievements of your ancestors? And can I, in turn, say that the New South Wales Government and the Parliament of New South Wales are proud of the achievements of the Portuguese Australian community here in Australia and in New South Wales. A law-abiding community, an achieving community, a freedom-loving community, a peaceful community. The Portuguese Australian community are so popular because Portuguese values are Australian values, and Australian values are Portuguese values at one and the same time. So dear friends, it doesn't get bigger, it doesn't get better, it doesn't get greater than the achievements of Portugal and the Portuguese people. I am proud to stand between the flag of Portugal and the flag of Australia and say happy birthday Portugal, happy birthday to the Portuguese people as well. It's a great honour and joy to be here today.
John Hart, next up the Honourable Anthony Albanese, Federal Member for Greylander and Federal Shadow Minister for Infrastructure, Transport, Cities and Regional Development. Please welcome him to the stage.
Well, thank you very much. I begin by paying my respect to the traditional owners of country, pay my respect to their elders past and present. And wasn't that a wonderful celebration of multiculturalism when we saw Portuguese music being played for the first time possibly in the world with a didgeridoo. It says everything that is great about this country. And I acknowledge also the Consul General of Portugal and the other Consul Generals who are here. David Clark representing the Premier, my local members here, Joe Halen and Sophie Kotzis, who this would be your first Portugal National Day after being elected the State Member for Canterbury, and Sam Iskander representing local government in this area, who's been such a strong supporter of the Portuguese community, and I'm sure after September the local government elections will be there in place as your representative as well. Look, can I say, isn't this centre looking fantastic here at Fraser Park? So I congratulate you on Portuguese National Day once again. It is fantastic to be able to celebrate with you. Obrigado, viva Portugal.
It's wonderful to be here, and I too want to thank Uncle Ray and those magnificent dancers for their welcome to country, and I too pay my respects to elders past and present. As Anthony said, it's a wonderful cultural exchange of performance, language, music, and that's what today is all about. I want to thank the Consul General for his very kind invitation and also his explanation this morning of the strength of the relationships between Portugal and Australia. It is so strong on so many levels, and I want to thank you very much.
He's a member of the Inner West Council Implementation Advisory Group. Please put your hands together for Mr. Sam Eastman.
I will conclude by saying it was very, very good to meet with the new Consul General and the Portuguese leaders and to talk about the future community, and I'll be very happy to be in that plan, and thank you very much for including me. I promise I'll be the best Portuguese from non-Portuguese community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel Kanda. Mr. Jose Manano Perez is coming up next. He's a member for Northern Beaches Council Implementation Advisory Group. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Jose Manano Perez.
Thank you, Ricardo, and welcome everybody. I would like to thank the Consul General and Miguel, the President of the club, for having us today. And I especially would like to thank the members of Parliament, the Honourable Dave Clark, the Honourable Mr. Albanese, Joe and Sophie. I think your support is sincerely appreciated by the community. E com isto, senhores e senhoras, parabéns pela vossa comunidade, parabéns pelo ótimo dia de Portugal. Muito obrigado.
Pass the microphone on to another guest, Marcelo Carreira, who's going to introduce the next few speakers.
E por isso também, antes de chamar ao palco a conselheira das comunidades portuguesas, eu quero dizer Viva Portugal! Por isso, bom apoio para a Melissa Silva.
Bom dia a todos e bem-vindos ao clube. Hoje, dia 10 de junho, celebramos não só o Dia de Portugal e de Camões, mas também o Dia das Comunidades Portuguesas. Como conselheira das comunidades portuguesas, este dia significa para mim uma ótima oportunidade para refletirmos e celebrarmos o que a nossa comunidade portuguesa aqui na Austrália tem alcançado ao longo dos anos. E espero que a nossa comunidade continue a deixar uma boa impressão na comunidade australiana e que continue a manter fortes as nossas raízes portuguesas. Viva Portugal e viva a nossa comunidade portuguesa!
Eu chamo aqui o Sr. Daniel Gouveia, que é o Presidente.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, senhoras e senhores, muito boa tarde. Em primeiro lugar, eu, como Presidente do Portugal Madeira Clube, queria agradecer ao Sr. Cônsul-Geral de Portugal em Sydney, Sr. Paulo Domingos, Sr. Presidente de França, Sr. Miguel. Senhoras e senhores, viva Portugal e viva a Austrália. Muito obrigado, thank you.
Por isso eu chamo o Sr. Miguel Bairinhos, que como Presidente, que irá dizer algumas palavras.
Hoje é o dia de Camões, da língua portuguesa, é o dia das comunidades portuguesas, de nós todos. O nosso papel é trabalharmos juntos, tentarmos mostrar um pouco da Portugalidade na Austrália, ok? Em vez de haver estas lutas, estas rivalidades. Por isso é que nós fizemos isto também com o Madeira Club. Estamos a tentar, de só uma maneira, o futuro é estarmos juntos, não temos hipótese, porque sozinhos vamos basicamente desaparecer. Esta é a verdade. Obrigado.
Então, Dona Gilda, hoje dia de Portugal, aqui na Austrália, o que é que a senhora está aí a confeccionar? Pois.
É a espetada tradicional. Muito gostosa. Nunca ouvi dizer nunca houve ninguém que comesse espetada que dissesse que não era bom. As espetadas da